Mist rises over the sea-scented port of Palermo on a raw spring morning in 1870. Sunlight pierces the coastal mist, casting long dark shadows across the lava-stone paving of the Sicilian capital. The air carries a strong salt spray from the Tyrrhenian Sea. Sweet smells of crushed lemon leaves, olive branches, and pine resin mix with charcoal smoke from bakery fires. Dawn has just broken over the narrow stone alleys of the historic quarter. Inside the ground-floor workshop of a grand Sicilian puppet theater, work began long before first light. Local people call this famous workshop a bottega dell'Opera dei Pupi. Heavy beechwood logs sit in high piles near ringing iron anvils and bright, hand-painted canvas banners. Master artisans work side by side inside these stone rooms to build the iron-clad paladins of Charlemagne. Woodcarvers, armorer-smiths, painters, and storytellers preserve a bold folk art that captivates working-class Sicilians every night. Their carved wooden heroes bring ancient chivalric legends of love, bravery, and honor to life on stage. Outside these thick oak doors, 19th century Sicily faces deep political trouble. The recent unification of Italy brought high taxes, forced military service, and widespread anger across the island. Severe economic hardship pushes thousands of Sicilian families to move across the Mediterranean Sea. Inside the bottega, however, ancient marionette traditions remain strong. Master craftsmen turn raw timber, sheet brass, and colorful velvet into living heroes of medieval legend. Music, this digital recreation of a grand puppet theater workshop in Sicily in 1870, was created with artificial intelligence based on detailed historical records. Before going further, please subscribe to our channel The History Forge and leave a like. Your support helps us bring lost historical worlds back to light through our work. Stay with us as we step through the arched entry of the workshop. We will watch skilled armor smiths forge embossed brass knight armor. We will discover secret woodcarving methods of master sculptors. Finally, we will enjoy a thrilling evening performance of the Opera dei Pupi that captivated 19th century Palermo. Built inside the ground floor and stone cellar of a 17th century baroque palazzo, the puppet workshop and theater form a self-contained world of art and engineering. Massive blocks of local golden tuff sandstone form the exterior walls, bonded with thick lime mortar to keep the interior cool during hot Mediterranean summers. Wide round arches fitted with heavy iron-bound oak doors face the street. These doors let bright morning sunlight flood the primary carving studio during daytime work hours. High stone vaults supported by thick masonry pillars muffle the loud clatter of hammered metal overhead. The compound is divided into 4 main operational areas. First comes the primary woodworking shop, located right near the front entrance. Next is the hot metalworking forge tucked into the rear alcove. Above sits the textile costume studio on the wooden mezzanine floor. At the back rests a dark, intimate performance hall known as the teatrino. Right in the center of the main studio stands the master sculptor's primary workbench. This massive timber slab of seasoned oak shows deep scars from decades of chisel strikes, saw cuts, and mallet marks. Organized tool racks around the bench hold sharp gouges, iron rasps, mallet hammers, and earthenware jars of hot hide glue simmering over small charcoal braziers. In the rear forge alcove, a stone hearth equipped with hand-cranked leather bellows provides intense heat for tempering iron control rods and shaping sheet metal. A heavy iron anvil sits directly near the hearth, surrounded by metal shears, embossing punches, and polishing wheels used for brass armor plates. Upstairs on the wooden mezzanine floor, long timber tables are covered with bolts of crimson velvet, silk ribbons, and metallic gold thread used to tailor royal garments for wooden knights. At the far end of the compound sits the teatrino, dominated by a raised wooden stage featuring a hand-carved proscenium arch, oil footlights, and complex pulley riggings for puppet battles. Scents of fresh beech wood, Linseed oil, pine turpentine, scorched iron, and hot animal glue fill every room. Herbal aniseed tea brews over small coals on the hearth, filling the air with a sweet aroma. Sounds of continuous manual labor echo through the stone hall. You hear the steady rasp of steel wood files, the ringing of hammers shaping brass plates against iron anvils, and the dull thud of wooden mallets striking hardwood torsos. Through open street arches, these workshop noises blend with street vendors shouting about fresh catches of sardines and sweet prickly pears outside. From the backstage room, the master animator tests iron control rods, creating a distinct metallic clattering that signals show preparations. Every corner of stone, timber, and iron reflects a deep commitment to theatrical storytelling. Hours before sunrise lights up the bells of Palermo's cathedral, while stone alleys remain quiet and cool. Young boys stir from straw pallets in the loft. These young woodcarvers and armorer helpers are known as garzoni. Shivering in the pre-dawn chill, they descend to the stone floor to sweep wood shavings, clean metal filings from anvils, and kindle charcoal hearths to heat hide glue. Social hierarchy inside the workshop is rigid and governed by years of specialized mastery. At the very top of authority stands the master puppet sculptor and animator, called the oparante or pirano. His creative vision controls script adaptations, character designs, and stage performances. Specialized journeymen work under him. The armorer, called the stagnaro, hammers brass armor plates. The painter, called the pitter, paints canvas scenery banners. Seamstresses stitch fine velvet garments, while young apprentices handle grueling manual tasks without any pay. Life inside the bottega reflects tight-knit social networks of 19th century Sicilian craftsmanship. People respect the master operante not only as an artist, but as a cultural custodian preserving centuries of oral traditions in chivalric literature. Wealthy noble patrons living on upper palazzo floors view puppet theater as simple street folklore. But working-class families across the neighborhood consider the workshop the true heart of local entertainment. Apprentices live as extended family members under the master's roof, bound by multi-year training agreements. Trade secrets about puppet joints, weight balance, and armor embossing are protected like valuable family property. Every member of the shop understands that their shared reputation depends on the quality of every puppet produced. Gathering around a stone water basin as daylight brightens the courtyard, craftsmen wash their hands and faces before brief morning devotions at a small wall shrine dedicated to Saint Rosalia, patron saint of Palermo. Work attire in the shop is functional and rugged, built for hard manual labor amidst flying wood chips and hot iron sparks. Apprentices and junior carvers wear coarse linen shirts called camicia paired with dark wool trousers tied at the waist with thick cord, covered by heavy canvas aprons stiff with glue stains and sawdust. On their feet, they wear simple leather work shoes or wooden-soled clogs to protect against sharp metal scraps scattered on the floor. Dressing in garments that reflect his artistic rank and practical needs, the master operante wears a clean cotton shirt under a tailored wool waistcoat, or panciato, featuring silver buttons and velvet trousers tied at the ankles. A silk neckerchief around his neck absorbs sweat, while his head is covered by a traditional dark wool cap called a capola. His most essential personal tools, a fine carving knife, a brass folding ruler, and a horn oil flask, rest in leather pockets sewn into his waistcoat. The lead seamstress, often the master's wife or daughter, wears a dark woolen gown protected by an embroidered linen apron, her hair tied neatly beneath a headscarf called a fazzoletto, as she hand-stitches golden trim onto night cloaks. Breakfast takes place shortly after sunrise on wooden stools around the central workbench, providing a simple, satisfying meal based on local Sicilian staples. Artisans break off pieces of dense, crusty Durham wheat bread called pane di rimicinato, rubbing the crust with ripe tomatoes, olive oil, and wild oregano. They share thick slices of aged sheep's milk cheese called Caciocavallo, cured black olives, and fresh oranges picked from nearby orchards. Small earthenware cups of strong black espresso or sweet marsala wine provide warmth and energy for long hours of intense manual labor. Leftover bread crusts are saved for evening soups or shared with neighborhood animals. Creating traditional Sicilian puppets, or pupi, relies on extensive regional supply lines across 19th century Italy. Dense beech and walnut timber, ideal for carving lightweight yet durable bodies and heads, is harvested in forests of the Madonie Mountains and brought to Palermo on heavy timber carts. Sheet brass and iron for forging knight armor are imported from metal rolling mills in Naples, while copper wire and steel rods arrive on coastal trading boats from Genoa. Fine silk ribbons, velvet fabrics, and gold lace thread are purchased from textile merchants in Catania and Messina. Natural earth pigments like raw sienna, burnt umber, and lapis lazuli are bought from local apothecary shops and mixed on site with boiled rabbit skin glue to make durable tempera paints. By mid-morning, the workshop reaches its operational peak as work proceeds across all specialized trades. At the main workbench, the master sculptor selects a cured block of walnut wood, using gouges and mallets to rough out the features of a hero puppet head. With remarkable skill, he carves expressively detailed faces for famous knights like Orlando, Rinaldo, or the villainous traitor Gano di Maganza. Glass eye inserts and carved hair features make each character easy to see from distant theater seats. Every carved stroke is executed with swift, practiced confidence, honed through decades of daily wood carving. Inside the metal shop alcove, the armorer hammers sheet brass into elaborate suits of knight armor. Working from hand-drawn paper templates, he uses metal shears to cut breastplates, greaves, visored helmets, and shoulder guards. He rests brass pieces on lead blocks, using small steel punches and chasing hammers to emboss decorative motifs, such as double-headed eagles, roaring lions, and floral scrolls, into the metal surface. Each piece of armor is polished with pumice stone and oil until it gleams like burnished gold, ready to be fitted onto a jointed wooden puppet frame. Assembling pupi requires precise mechanical engineering to ensure realistic movement on stage. Northern European marionettes are light and string-driven, but Sicilian puppets are heavy mechanical figures weighing between 20 and 40 pounds and standing over 3 feet tall. The master joins carved limbs to the wooden torso using heavy leather hinges and iron swivel joints. He drives a thick iron rod called the asta principale directly through the head into the chest block. A secondary iron rod attaches to the right wrist, allowing the puppet animator to maneuver the heavy brass sword with great force during stage battles. Meanwhile, the scenic painter works in the upper studio, creating vibrant backdrop banners and promotional posters called cartelli. Painting on large canvas sheets mounted on timber frames, he uses bright tempera colors to depict dramatic battle scenes from the Crusades, enchanted forests, and royal court chambers. These colorful cartelli are hung outside the theater entrance hours before the show, serving as visual advertisements that entice illiterate dockworkers and neighborhood families to buy evening tickets. Dusk brings a surge of energy to the quiet street as the workshop transforms into a crowded performance venue. The heavy oak street doors are opened wide, and working-class locals fill the wooden benches of the teatrino. Oil lamps along the stage proscenium are lit, illuminating the red velvet curtain. Behind the scenes, elevated on a high wooden bridge called the pulpito above the stage floor, the master oparante and his assistant animators take their positions, holding the heavy iron rods of multiple knight puppets in their calloused hands. A dramatic roll of brass drums and the strumming of a barrel organ signal the start of the performance. The curtain rises to reveal a magnificent royal court backdrop as heavy brass-clad paladins enter the stage with stomping wooden boots. The master animator projects his voice across the hall, performing distinct vocal dialects for each character. Booming heroic tones for Orlando, sharp fiery speech for Rinaldo, and sinister whispers for Gano. The audience reacts with passionate fervor, cheering hero sword strikes, gasping at sorcery, and shouting insults at traitorous villains on stage. Clashing brass shields create a deafening roar on stage during ferocious battle scenes. Animators maneuver heavy puppets across wooden floorboards with impressive skill, smashing brass shields together in thrilling combat. The master operates sword control rods with practiced skill, executing theatrical strikes that sever wooden enemy heads and shear off armors, sending sparks flying near oil footlights. The audience erupts in wild applause as Orlando stands victorious over the field of battle, his polished brass armor reflecting warm torchlight. Once the last crowd clears into night alleys, the workshop settles into a peaceful evening routine. The theater floor is swept clean of fallen wood splinters and metal rivets. Workers gather in the back courtyard for a late supper of fried arancini rice balls, pasta cooked with sardines and wild fennel, roasted sweet peppers and red wine. Artisans discuss audience reactions, make notes on puppet repairs needed before tomorrow's show, and relax under the starry night sky before turning in to rest. Silence returns to the puppet workshop as midnight arrives. Heavy iron bars are secured across front doors, protecting precious tools, brass armors, and painted canvas banners. Outside, cool night air drifts through quiet stone streets of Palermo. Inside the darkened teatrino, oil footlights are extinguished, leaving single horn lanterns to cast soft flickering shadows across the empty stage. Dozens of heavy iron-clad knights hang suspended from timber beams in stage wings, their polished armors gleaming faintly in dark quiet, waiting for tomorrow's performance. Yet the golden era of traditional Sicilian puppet theater faced dramatic changes in the century ahead. While the Opera dei Pupi of 1870 represented a peak of popular folk culture, late 19th and early 20th centuries brought profound societal shifts. Industrialization, massive emigration to the Americas, and the arrival of silent cinema gradually transformed entertainment habits of working-class Sicilians. Many historic family workshops were forced to close, their hand-carved puppets packed away into wooden chests or sold to private collectors. Today, the heritage of 19th century Sicilian puppet workshops survives through recognized cultural institutions and master artisan lineages. Preserved antique pupi displayed in Palermo's International Puppet Museum, historic hand-painted cartelli posters in regional archives, and UNESCO recognition of the Opera dei Pupi as intangible cultural heritage offer enduring testimony to master craftsmen of 1870. Across more than a century and a half, these carved wooden paladins and forged brass armors remain timeless symbols of an era when art, legend, and craftsmanship flourished in the heart of Sicily.